Hello and welcome to the Goals and Glory podcast with me, your host, Bruce Aitchison. And again, he is smiling like a wee boy because that is exactly how I feel. Having read Bestie to Beastie to Belgium by the brilliant Colin Leslie, I got very excited about the characters that were in the book. They were the heroes of mine. They were the people I used to pretend to be in the playground and wished I could be gracing the Easter Road turf with them, and none more so than today's guest. Colin hooked me up with the contact for this, and he bounced straight back and said, yeah, no problem at all. And I've already told him the story off air of why he had a very, very special place in my head and my heart, and why I pretended when I was scoring goals that I was this man. So I am absolutely buzzing for this. Let's waste no more time and bring in the one and the only Mr. Steve Cowan. Hello, sir.
Hello, Bruce. How you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. And thank you for joining us. Now, I was just telling you this story when I was a Hibs Kid back in the day, on the open day, and we got to watch a wee bit of training, and then each player was given a group of kids to walk round the pitch with, and for some reason you ended up with me in the group I was with, but I don't think I'll let anybody else speak to you. I was hanging on your left hip, listening to everything you said. Do you ever think that folk were pretending to be you? Is that ever something in your consciousness at a time?
No, never. I was, if I put myself in your shoes when I was a wee boy, I was pretending to be people like, okay, we're going back a wee bit, Dennis Law, Kenny Dalglish. That's who I was pretending to be. So you don't think anybody's going to say that about you, but I suppose as wee boys who love football, that's what you do.
Yeah, and it was just brilliant. And those are the times when you can get close to your hero, and then they're still your hero. So I don't know if I'm embarrassing you or no, but I'm speaking to a hero here, Stevie. So you grew up as a Celtic fan
Yeah,
in Glasgow. Was
yeah.
that difficult?
Well, no, because you only get two choices. It's either Celtic or it's Rangers, and that's it. And you know, when I grew up in the east end of Glasgow, Briston, and then just up the road from the Celtic training ground in Barrowfield. But my dad was a Celtic supporter, and he would take me obviously to the games. Then he would. I wouldn't happen nowadays, but when I was 8, 9, and 10, I was going to the games myself, getting left over with the guys, all that kind of stuff, and then go there. And then, Barrowfield, where Celtic trained, just happened to be about half a mile from where I stayed. I knew there was trials going on for Celtic Boys Club. I went along, and luckily enough, I get picked. And I only spent a year there before the family moved to East Kilbride. But yeah, that's how Celtic, sort of became part of my life, if you like.
And what was it you loved about being on the terracing?
That's a good question. I think just it's the atmosphere. Obviously back in the day when there was no seats, everybody's standing, you're all crushed in. Even as a wee boy, 9, 10, and that's how you had to deal with it. And just being in that atmosphere, and I think I was lucky at the time. Celtic had not, what was it, a decade, had won the European Cup in a recent time, had been in another European Cup final. So being as a boy who was obsessed with football, I mean, like totally obsessed, I wanted to see the teams that had won European Cups, and could I win a European Cup with Celtic? So that's what kept me going.
So was that just always the wee boy dream? I want to be a football player.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. I always say, Bruce, and I'm sure that the guys you speak to, I was very blessed, incredibly blessed, because if I hadn't had the football, I've got to say I don't know what would have happened to my life, because we came from really dire background, upbringing wasn't great, and if it wasn't for the football, I don't know where I've ended up. So I feel incredibly blessed that I was lucky to have a wee bit of talent to do reasonably well in the game.
So you're going to the games on your own at 8 or 9. Did you ever feel unsafe? Like, if to say that to a parent now, your wee boy can go down the road and go to the game on his own, and like you'd get locked up for suggesting that. Was that a place where you felt safe and a sense of belonging?
I never felt any danger at any time. You grew up in a harsh world. You knew what was round about you, and even at 8, 9, 10, you were pretty streetwise, and you sort of knew what to avoid. But no, you jumped in the. I can remember jumping in the bus number 64, Auckland Shugels, where I stayed. get the bus right along. Hawkins should go right at the end of East End of Glasgow, right along to Celtic Park. Off you walk up, get to a turnstile, and it was the classic, hey Jimmy, can you give me a lift over? And Jimmy gave you a lift over, and you were in.
And then when you were playing football, was that a sense of freedom? Was that where you were happy that you weren't paying attention to any of the hardships that were around you? You were just getting to play football?
Yeah, you put it really well there, Bruce, in a nutshell. Yeah, that was your escapism. For what else was usually was going on in your family life, or what else was in the background, and I was quite lucky. So I got in with the Boys Brigade, 179 Company Glasgow. I can tell you, 179 Company Glasgow. Playing with Celtic Boys Club, playing with the school, training. It was just utterly football. You come home 4 o'clock, out to the field, 30 guys, football till 6. It was just it was just all consuming because we had nothing else.
Did you just play? I was speaking to Mickey Weir about this. Did you just play, or was there a period where you were kicking against the wall with your left foot, or the laces, or you were dribbling out of milk bottles, or were you just playing?
I was playing, but I can tell you what I was doing, and it's, again, we've all got these wee stories. So in our back garden, I had two sisters. I've got two sisters, and my dad put a swing. So the bars, you've got the bars. That was my goal, and I would use a tennis ball. This is true, and throw it off the face of the house to come back at me, to chest, header, volley. I would do that until the cows come home. But what happened was I didn't realise when it was wet, Bruce, it was leaving these ball marks all up in the wall, and I got an absolute hiding for it. I did, but it was worth it because that was the skills that I was learning with a tennis ball. And honestly, I know it sounds ridiculous, but nobody's coaching. Chested. I was watching the TV, so I could see my heroes doing this. So I think he's chested it and volleyed it. So I'm going to chest it and volley it. I'm going to header it in little glances, and honestly, everything like that. It was like, that was my little world in the back garden.
Did you just always want to score goals? Was that another big motivation for you?
Oh, there's no better feeling than hitting the back of the net. Whether you're a youth, an amateur, a junior, I'm not. You ask any of these boys that play at any level, hitting the back of the net is the greatest feeling in the world.
And when you're doing that, like I'm not a believer in when you hear pundits and commentators saying, "Oh, you can see what he was thinking there," because you were thinking in the back garden with that tennis ball. That was when you did your thinking. When it was game time, you were reacting, the muscle memory, the instinct. You were playing on the things that you'd done before. Mm-hmm. But there's that little pause where the ball flies through the air before it hits the back of the net. Can you put that into words, what that little moment's like before the crowd go up and before you sprint away to celebrate? What's that little moment of anticipation like?
You're right, it's such a quick split second. But I never had any doubt, because, and this is really hard to try and explain, is like, how I like to play, talking when I was playing professional, I like to either one or two touch. And for me, finishing was mostly 95% about one touch. Header, glance of the foot, off your knee, hit something. It was all about one touch. And I never had any doubt the ball was going in the net. Now, don't get me wrong, loads of times it didn't. But that didn't put me off for going back again and going back again and go back again. Because you ultimately knew one of them were going to go in if you just were brave enough. And I'm sure you've heard that, Bruce. Many guys have said, look, just keep going back in. You'll keep missing, but you won't get one that'll score. So you just knew the ball was going in the net.
Where did your confidence come from?
My confidence probably came from fear of not making it as a player, of fear of not getting a game, of fear of not being able to totally, again, I was very lucky. You know my history. Alec Ferguson signed me when I was 13. 3 years later, St Mirren were going to free me, unbelievably. And I tell you a story about that. I just scored. We played Scotland under 15s. I wasn't playing with them.
I love this story because it's just mind-blowing how somebody's life can hang on one person's opinion.
Well, exactly. Jim Clooney was a manager who played at St Mirren. We played Scotland under 15s with St Mirren. We beat them 7-2 at the old Love Street. I'd scored 5, and he was freeing me. Yeah. So I had to go home. That was me. I had no job. I left school at 16, but luckily enough, Alan Ferguson phoned me and says, "Come to Aberdeen for a trial." Boom, and away you go. So and it was always was so grateful, and I'm to this day so grateful to him for having the insight to see there's something in me, because I couldn't see there was anything in me because I'd just been freed.
But that does that make you, like, how does that make you think and feel? Because that's happening to more guys than you, and some didn't then go on. That was the thing that was the sliding doors moment that meant we've never heard of them now.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything? Is that just the way it is? Do we just have to accept that that's the way it is?
Yeah, unfortunately, only 1 or 2%, as you say there, who's going, to be maybe professionals at a decent level. But yeah, that and I hear that people, and I like the pub too much, or I like this, and I did that, and I was chasing. No, I just wasn't good enough, and you have to put your hand up and accept that you're not good enough. But maybe not to play professional. But I was doing the coaching. I coached a lot at the academy levels and stuff. I would say to the parents, they might not be good enough to play for Hearts, but they need to understand if they get 20 years as an amateur or a junior, they're going to have a brilliant life, keep fit, have great careers, make loads of pals. There's all the benefits of still being a footballer at any level.
Steve, please go and tell that to MSPs and teachers and educators, because there, to me, you've just summed up what it's to be in any sport. And there's a huge number of dropouts because they don't make the professional game. Is that because maybe they didn't love it? What they wanted was to be a professional. They didn't actually love football.
Well, you've got to love football. I mean, I think I said earlier, I was and am obsessed. And I'm a student of football, not from the coaching side, but I do obviously. But just I love the history of football, and I've always loved that. But again, my own son, who is 32, 33 now, he's finished his career, but he was at Hearts for a couple of years, didn't make it any further. But he played at Bo'ness, and he played at junior teams like that, and some amateur teams. He made loads of pals, travelled a wee bit of the world, had a great time, kept fit. Magic. I mean, what, you couldn't beat it.
But you would have still played if Alec Ferguson hadn't come knocking a second time. You would have done the same. You would have gone and played because you loved it. But there's a huge number of folk who drop out because they didn't make it. So have they loved football, do you think?
They probably have loved football, I would say, Bruce, but they probably don't have. It's not just about love of football then, and this is well worn, these words, but not get the right attitude, don't have the desire, don't have the hunger, and particularly nowadays, you see a lot. Like I had them at particularly at Hearts and the academy. I was so lucky to work with some great boys up there who became pros, but they come from really nice lifestyles, and if they get a knockback, it could be the end of the world for them because they've never had any harsh realities. Now, I know for a wee boy, which I've said, growing up as a wee boy, I had so many harsh things happen and seen. So before I got to football, I'd already been rejected 100 times from other things and things going wrong. So being rejected by football, which I was with St Mirren, it wouldn't have never deterred me.
So there's the Alec Ferguson bit of your story, which is probably unique. There's no many people get picked up by Alec Ferguson at 13 and then again a few years later and taken up the road to Aberdeen. What was it like? Because he wasn't Fergie as we know him now, so it wasn't maybe the aura that he had, but in those days I would imagine he had to come and chap your door to get a signature on the bit of paper. And how did that work?
Bruce, he had the aura. It was frightening. Honestly, it was frightening. When he came up to my house at 13, he says, "Right, I'm coming up, get your mum and dad ready, we'll sign it." Because he stayed in Nisco Bride where we moved to Nisco Bride, so it was easy for him. But Aberdeen as well. I mean, I do tell the story that we played Huntly and up in the Highland League there. I had a nightmare because the game had went 5 times quicker. I had a total shocker. Driving back down the bus, nobody speaking to me. Drew Jarvie was on it, Doug Roosevelt. boys like that, nobody's speaking to me. I'm thinking, oh, I'm bombed here as well. Then off the steps of the bus, Fergie grabs me and says, right, Cowan, we're going to sign you. Go down the road, pack your case, and be back up here on Monday morning, ready to train. That was it. And I had an absolute shocker. I know I had a shocker. But because of the greatness of the man, what he'd done in his career, he could see by that. And for me, as I said earlier on, Bruce, it wasn't the talent. He could see, I always said that in football, nobody worked hard for me, nobody had a better attitude, nobody had a bigger desire. They could have been better footballers, a lot are better footballers. But see those first three things, that gets you a long way. And he knew that.
So when you start to coach and work with academy players, you can make them a better striker, you can make them you can improve their touch, their game understanding. But those first three things, how did you go about helping players develop those?
And you thought from the skills point of view?
No, from that attitude, that work ethic, that desire to keep going.
It's quite simple. Speak to them. Speak to them and listen to them. I had Jamie Walker, Jason Holt, Mikey Devlin, all these boys, and you just have to listen to them. And then when you can talk to them at their level, and you think, you've got a chance here. However, see if you just do that, let me see when the games are going against you. And we used to go and play Celtic and Rangers at their academies and all this kind of stuff. And honestly, and you see how they reacted to that. You actually just didn't have to do a lot of talking to them. You knew they had the attitude, the desire, and the hunger to actually ally with their ability to then go and take on these supposed great teams. And you can ask these boys. We would often beat them and come back to Glasgow with wins many times, not just through the skill, but through that three things you mentioned there, Bruce. These boys were brilliant. But I think just listen to them, have a wee chat with them, and you just get it right away. And again, you talk about wee boys when you were a wee boy and I was a wee boy. I'm putting myself back as a wee boy, then talking to him as a wee boy. I'm going, I like what I hear here. This is great.
You obviously love that. You're a people person, because you've spoken about if you didn't make it, you can keep playing and make friends and build relationships. So that was that substituting some of what was going on in life, where you were able to find some kindred spirits kicking a ball about?
Well, no, quite the opposite, Bruce. This is going to sound really weird. At that level, and I can say, Aberdeen, Hibs, or model my three Scottish teams, I never really got on with anybody. I didn't like many of them either, and because seeing in that environment, honestly, it's true. They're trying to take food off your table. They're trying to take that jersey off you. But back when I played, there was only 13 people getting stripped. So to get in that Aberdeen team, to get in that 13, what an effort it took, an almighty effort. You couldn't be pals with people. We were kicking lumps at each other in training. Why Fergie was so good, one of the things that was so good was our training for Monday, Friday was like how you would play on a Saturday. It was brutal. Fights, punches, kicking. Honestly, Alan McLeish put me at the game for 4 months when they tackled him when they were 17 and tore my knee ligaments. And there was, you never jumped out of the way. What do you mean I never jumped out of the way? So I've only probably got one. My best friend in life is Dougie Bell, who played at Hibs as well. Yeah. Aberdeen with me, St Mirren with me. I've known Dougie, since I was 13 at St Mirren. He's my only friend. We didn't socialise with each other. No.
Wow. So
fair. On Monday I would have to go and kick him.
and Fergie obviously loved that competitive edge, and he was a master. He was a master in sort of manipulating those situations, wasn't he? Were you aware that was happening, or is it just with hindsight you look back and go, that's what he was up to?
Again, good question. At the time, because I knew him at St Mirren, so I knew what I was getting when I went to Aberdeen, so it wasn't much a shock for me. But when he arrived at Aberdeen, it was a shock for the people. Joe Harper, who played at Hibs as well, people like that who get the fright of their life and were chased within a very short time. And that's when all the young boys came through, and we just accepted this is the environment you're in. And people ask me, Bruce, and when you go to Parkhead and Hilux and 50, 60,000 people, whatever, I wasn't afraid of any of them. I was only afraid of one person, 30. Honest to God. I knew if I came off that park and he just said, all right, well done, or no bad, or I thought, I've got away with it. I've got away with that. Honestly. And often you didn't, because I could tell you 100 stories where it was the opposite way.
And how did it work in the changing room before a game? Was the what was the atmosphere like going into Premier League? Because it was a rougher, tougher game than it is now. Was there a bit of a sense of we're going into a battle here, or were you able to focus on we're going to keep the ball moving? Like you said, I want to play one or two touch. Were you ready for that physical jump up in pace and intensity?
Always, yeah, always. And if I look in that dressing room at Aberdeen, Alec McLeish, Wally Miller, Gordon Strachan, Mark McGee, to bring them all off, nobody was intimidating them. Nobody was, there was no fear. So if people wanted to play, we'll play. And if you wanted to kick, we'll kick. We let them choose, And that's where Fergie got us into the Celtic thing, that West of Scotland bias. And he's for Govan, I'm for Brighton, McLeish is for Govan, Wally Muller's for Brighton. So we're off in the West anyway, but he got us so anti-West. They're taking money out of your pocket. Your kids can't go to school and eat. They're doing that. You can't. Honestly, you name it. Motivation. Wow. Let's go. And as you saw, we won more often than we lost to the big two in Glasgow.
You had some serious injury problems by the time you were. I mean, by the time you were 22, how many operations had you had?
I had 3 major ones, and at 19, I was told to quit.
And how do you cope with that as a 19-year-old?
Well, I remember when the surgeon came in after the third one, and it was back the day before the arthroscope. It was I call it the broken bottle treatment on the knee. Just giving you a slice and let's see what we can dig out, right? And he says, have you ever thought about doing anything apart from football? I said, what do you mean? He says, well, your knee's gone. You can't keep playing. And obviously, you start crying. I was crying, emotional, all that kind of stuff. But again, because of the environment I was in with Fergie and all them, you get back to, maybe a few days later, you're back in trying to get rehab and whatever. And it's, Fergie comes into the physio room. Come on, you're all right. You run it off. We'll sort you out. Put ice on that. Honestly, get out there. You're not finished. Such, and you go, right. And luckily for me, I managed to get, I was 28, but then again, I had another couple of us and told to quit again before I eventually had to go at 32. But it was mind over matter, Bruce. It was like, well, nobody's taking this away from me. Nobody, my body's not taking this away from me. But it did harm me because then I was quite quick until then. But then that slowed me down. Lost maybe a yard of pace. But it worked in my favour because then I had to think more about the game. Rather than try to outrun people, how can I outthink people now? And that worked in my favour because I could understand that being a striker who just wanted to score goals, I would always play in the shoulder. So I'm always leaning that way. And it's up to the centre half to decide what you're going to do. You're going to stand your ground and gamble, or you're going to go back.
So when you're playing up front, it's tough because you're saying there's 13 players on the pitch, but to be the striker, you've got to hit the ground running, really, haven't you? You got to get into it. Now, when you go to Hibs, it seemed like you were scoring for fun. What was it that happened there?
I think it was 2 or 3 things. I think first of all, John Blackley, Sloop JB, the legend that is Sloop. Brilliant man manager. Him and Tommy Craig. And when somebody buys you and you feel wanted, like, it's a great feeling. And I knew Hibs was a big club, clearly. Edinburgh, a big city. I thought, this could work out. Fergie actually offered me another 2-year contract to stay, which took me to 8 years at Aberdeen. But we just had my first kid, me and my wife, first daughter. You need a bit more money, as you know, Bruce, with family and all that kind of stuff. So thought, no, I had to go down to Hibs. But it was Sloop to start with. But I think the environment that he created with the players that were there, obviously, Gordon Jury for a kick-off. I mean, what a striking partner. There's your runner right away. He'll run away from anybody. I mean, you've got Mickey Weir, could cross a ball for fun. Joe Tortolano, who we talked about earlier on, could cross the ball. people like John Collins can pass. So all of a sudden you're in a team that's going to create an awful lot, Bruce. So I'm just thinking, and I'm saying to them, well, just put it in there. And if I'm not there, that's my fault. And all these boys did. Ali Brazil, people used to criticise. Ali was brilliant at taking the touch and saying, there you go, Steve, Gordon. Brilliant. Simple football, and it worked.
So how much did Sloop, John B, and Tommy Craig, when they bring you in, how much of your role did they outline, or was it bloody obvious? Just come and score some goals.
Well, see, the funny thing is, Mickey, me and Mickey, we were talking about this. Like, I was only 22 when I joined Hibs, so they keep talking about today's players at 22 are young boys and this, but Mickey and all them viewed me as an experienced player, and so did Sloop. And I didn't know that at the time. I just thought, well, I'm just a young boy like Mickey or Kano or, Jeebsy or whoever. It doesn't matter who it is. But because I'd played a few games for Aberdeen and we won the league and this, that, and the other, I thought, well, he's an experienced player coming. I was far from it. I was only 22. But Sloot never said. He just said, look, you're going to go up for it with Gordon and off you go. And we were so lucky that we bonded really well. But because I'm a great believer, Bruce, that strikers are nothing without the people round about you. Absolutely nothing. You can't do it without Totlano, Weir, Collins, Kane, Brazil, all these boys. Brilliant at supplying chances.
And you get into a vein of form, don't you? And I know, the stuff you do in the media and reporting on the game and commentating on the game. There's sometimes where, for some reason, it just can't hit a coos arse with a banjo. Like it's just not happening. Can you feel when it's the other way? Can you feel when everything you touch turns to gold?
Yeah, you can feel both of them really palpably. It's really so. The good side, which you said there, is that you just know that what was good. We had a great League Cup run in that first year. We got to the final, and playing under the lights at Easter Road in a night game, I felt was magical. I don't know what it is. It was different from the Tawdry, but it was magical. You've been to hundreds of games at Easter Road, Bruce, and you'll probably get what I'm saying, that it was just magical. And I think the fans bought into what John was trying to do and the players that he brought in. And we were scoring sixes and fives, and we just got a buzz. I mean, Alan Snedden, I remember having a chat with Alan Snedden and said, brilliant, here, another Tuesday, Wednesday night game. And Snoddy's going, yeah. And so I don't know if it was luck, I don't know, but we had the buzz under the lights at Easter Road, and that helped us, I think, kick on for that.
When you arrive at a new club, so you went up to Aberdeen as a youngster, you then signed for Hibs as an experienced pro. How are you welcomed into the training ground and the changing room when you move clubs? One of the things I find now when I look at the players, a guy's come in on a short-term loan, a guy's arrived from overseas, and then you must have known and played against most of that squad. Yeah. They'll have had an idea of who you are. You'll have had an idea of who they are. How easy is it to integrate in a new team?
It's not easy at all, because you're viewed with fear, suspicion. Who is he? Why do we need him? The 2 or 3 strikers that are already there hate you. Well, they do. And I remember it was Alan Irvine, the first Alan Irvine.
Yeah.
Was one of them, and I hardly ever spoke. I mean, but rightly so. If it was me, I'd be saying the same. When I was at Aberdeen and Fergie would bring in, Matt McGee's, Steve Archibald would be there, he'd be sold. Matt McGee would come in, he'd be, playing really well. Frank McDougall, wonderful. And you're thinking, I hate them. So I knew that to be accepted, wasn't he going to be on the field of play as much? It was training, you were going to be tested, because straight away, you got a couple of bangs. Gordon Ray, Gordon Hunter. Honestly, let's see what he's made of, and is he capable of wearing the green and white strip? Because they talk about legends here, top men, legends for the clubs, and they're not going to let anybody just to come in and waltz around. But because I came from a really harsh environment, Aberdeen anyway. But okay, boys, that's fine. Let's do it. And then when they see you can take it, and then add a couple of goals on a Saturday, you're in.
And what then happens? The changing room is obviously you preparing for training sessions, for the games. What then happens? You said that your relationships with the players maybe wasn't what did you go out on the town with the boys? What was the bus like on the way back for away trips? Was it different if you won or lost?
Let me just clarify something, Bruce. See, at 3 o'clock, I would have died for any player. Should have added that in. At 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, I would have died for any of them. I would have done anything for any of them because the common goal was to win the game and get the bonus money. Don't anybody kid you on about we just wanted to win points. It was to win the points and get the bonus money because that supplemented your wages, and we wouldn't have paid a lot of money in those days. So you needed to win games, and rightly so, to get money. But after that, no. I mean, the only person I really sort of had half a relationship was Mark Fulton. Remember, Big Mark came to St Mirren, ended up going into the police, having a great career in the police. No, didn't socialise. It was in your car, home. In your car, home. And where I stay, local pub, that's your mates and your friends. Then it's Hearts supporters, Rangers supporters, and the banter, getting you absolute pelters and all that kind of stuff. Henry Smith, the great Hearts goalkeeper, just stayed down the road from me. He used to come in as well. So I always enjoyed that. But no going with the players because ultimately you end up, as I said earlier on, the competition for places was too great. You couldn't really be pals.
How did you feel? You said you loved those floodlit games at Easter Road. How did you feel with the supporters?
Oh, I loved the supporters because I felt, unless you tell me different, Bruce, because you were one of them, that they took to me very quickly because they could see that, okay, might have had a couple of goals, but, decent player, work hard, get stuck in, nobody fear to any centre-halves, and I think if you can bring that roundness to everything, because it's kind of all just be about goals, it's got to be whatever else you can add, because games you're playing no well, and that's what I learned playing under Alex Ferguson, that you might not be playing well enough, but see if a ball comes up and you can crack the centre-half one, and the ball bounces to Gordon Jury to score, you've done your job.
There's a thing I always like at games. Sometimes a tackle gets as big a cheer as anything else. And that's where you show that you're, like you said, you would die for any day between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Did you relish those chances to get the full foot through the ball?
Tackling, that wasn't even probably me. I mean, I could do it because I played in centre half and I played in position, but for me it was the physical. I say there, it was the elbows. So I'm against the Terry Butchers and the Roy Aitkins and all these people who, the famous game of 1986 where if he'd have caught me, he would have took my head off. He really just tried to do me, and I'm trying to do him, and that's how in those days that you could get away with that. So you had to be mindful that as a striker you operated with your elbows, no try to tackle in the ground.
When you watch the game now, or when you stopped playing, how long did it take you to stop being a player watching the game and becoming a pundit or a coach or an analyst? Or just a supporter? Were you still kicking every ball and going up with your elbows, as you're watching the TV or sitting in the stand? Did it take you a while to transition from being a player to a spectator?
It's a brilliant question, Bruce. Honestly, I get asked that quite a lot. I'm not a supporter. See, you're a proper supporter. I've been lucky to play in that side. So I've never been that passionate about a club where it means that, like you're very passionate about your club and people are passionate. I've never been like that. I watch probably Hearts a bit later on or whatever, or some of the games, and I'll be sitting saying, why is he not just giving a 5-yard pass? Why is he not just slipped it in? Why is he not just... And my wife's sitting taking this on her ear. Why? So I've always been analytical, and being, as you say, Celtic supporter, my family will criticise me when I criticise Celtic, but they see it as a supporter. And I'm saying, well, if he'd just did that, we could have got that. I always look at the games that way, really, how could that player have done something different that could have affected a different result or outcome for them? Yeah. So,
was there ever a player that you looked at, maybe it was Gordon Jury, and you thought, this guy's going places? This, is there John Collins, or you played in a team at Aberdeen? Was there boys you looked at and thought, this guy's going, he's going all the way?
First one at Aberdeen was Strachan. I mean, he was already established, but you knew he was an outstanding player. Outstanding head player. Gordon Jury, straight away you think, wow, you know, and obviously the fantastic John Collins you mentioned, you could see when you get the ball under control, head up, good passes, not under any pressure, killing the ball instantly. You know, you see these boys were going to, you know, do well. Kano, to be fair, you knew boys like him were going to have good careers. Yeah, absolutely.
And what happens with Hibs then? So you're playing. I take it you're enjoying the experience. What then happens? How does it turn out for you?
Not very well. Uh, again, I gets another injury, has another operation, and I was out for about 4 months. In that period, and then when I just came back, I think John got the sack. Then him and Tommy, and then Alec Miller came in. So already I was behind the curveball when he appeared, and our relationship started really well. And, you know, I remember our first game against Rangers. I was injured, and he says, "Oh, come and sit on the bench," and it started well. But clearly, he was a different coach from John Blackley. He wanted different things for his strikers, and I was always had the comfort of knowing the managers previously. Play between the sticks. Fergie would say, play between the sticks. Swoop would say, between the sticks. That's what you're best at. Alec was looking for a different type of game from a striker in terms of coming short a lot and, you know, chasing down fullbacks a lot. And I think, well, that's been 4 operations. The legs are not going to carry me that way. So that's when it all started to go wrong for me at Hibs.
And what do you then do? Do you knuckle down and I'm just going to work harder? Do you start looking for other things? Are you listening to whispers? How does it work then to transition out of a club at that stage?
Well, initially, yeah, it was work as hard as you can, knuckle down. Hopefully, you get the chance, and hopefully, then you can convince the manager. Look, if you try and use me to the best of, I think, my abilities, ally a runner in beside me, you might have get more out of me. Because I signed a new 2-year deal. Alec Miller offered me another 2-year deal, so he must have thought, well, okay, we'll give this guy a chance. But then when we started the season again, I used to do the pre-season, and even at Aberdeen, I can't do the long runs. You know, the 5-10 miles. And I'm saying to the manager, who runs 10 miles in a game? I mean, why am I running 10 miles on a winner? But when it came down to the 40, 50, 60 yarders, that's when I came into my own then. I could do them quite good. And I wasn't, and then, but he wanted something different, and I wasn't in a team. And eventually I went in and said to him, so look, if I'm not getting a game, you're going to have to let me go. And then that's when Muller will come in for me. Really sad to leave Hibs at that time, Bruce, because I've been there 2.5 years, not long, I don't think, anyway, long enough. And you just wonder if Swoop had still been there. But that's football. In life, you can't just, think of that. So, but thoroughly enjoyed my time at Hibs and still look back and with great fondness.
It's amazing, I think, because you were there for, as you've just said, a short period of time, but you're so highly thought of by supporters and the generations that were on the terracing at that time. Steve Cowan's got a really good reputation amongst those fans. You must take a huge amount of pride from that.
Oh, I do. I really do. I mean, when I go back to Easter Road to do the commentary work, I love it. Get into the stadium and you see people that, when talk to people around that time. You look at the pictures on the walls and all that kind of stuff, and you can look at the park and you're like, oh, listen, Bruce, honestly, absolutely loved my time at Easter Road. Fantastic time. And where I stay, a lot of people are Hibs fans around here, and you're always, I think, I don't know if it's because of the famous 5, probably is because a wonderful, fantastic group of footballers that the Hibs fans appreciate maybe that good footballing type, and if they maybe see something, don't get me wrong, nothing like the famous 5, but somebody that's wanting to get stuck in, maybe get a few goals and have a good attitude. I think the Hibs fans appreciate that.
What was it like playing on the slope?
Oh, loved it. Absolutely loved it, because obviously Big Gordon would say, look, win the toss and shoot up the way in the first half. Always shoot up the way, because psychologically, I know this is weird, we always thought we'd score as many goals you like going down the slope. And you've seen many Hibs teams do that. I'm sure, Bruce, that it was just psychologically. And see, when we lost the toss, deflated. You said, oh, we're having to shoot down the first half. Gordon, how did you lose the toss?
Were other teams thinking the same thing? Were other captains? Were they
totally get Hibs, because when we went to, when I was at Aberdeen, we said get him shooting downhill in the first half.
I love that, and it's a sad thing. It's one of those, it's like when Terracing goes, or it's like there's certain things that go, and now there's no slope at Easter Road, and it's missed. I think it was one of those things that made it unique.
Oh, totally. And obviously, back the day before all the seating and all that, and and when you come out in that one game I talked about, that 1986 game against Rangers, then you come out and you see the colour. I mean, the green and white, 3/4 of the stadium, the red, white, and blue there, blue sky, green park, the slope going down, and you think, oh, this is brilliant. I'm Bruce, I can still feel it. Like, this is brilliant.
I love that. I love your enthusiasm and your passion for it. And then, I mean, there was a time where they were organising friendlies.
Mm-hmm.
Like now, if you were to ask a football player to play an extra game, I think some of them would go on strike. What was that like when somebody turns to you and says, by the way, Feyenoord, they're coming and we're going to play them? Was that just excitement?
Oh, it was brilliant. The group of players that were there, and I mentioned quite a lot of them, Bruce, that what great lads they were. I mean, Feyenoord coming, right, when? Tuesday night, let's go. A chance to play a different team that you never get a chance to play with a reasonable, pedigree at Easter Road, under the lights, back to the famous days in the 60s and all that, when it was the European Games under the lights, and so you had a chance to have a bit of a taste of that. And we just thought it was brilliant. I mean, back then, I think, I'm not sure, did I play, was it 40 or 50 games in a row or something? There's no thought of having a rest, because I like training to a degree, but I would rather play Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday. And if you ask all the boys then, they'd be the same. The more games, the merrier.
It beats training, doesn't it? I mean, there's nothing better than playing. Nothing. It's then I love that you obviously were still passionate about it, because you then go to Ireland, and you just wanted to play, didn't you? You just had a huge enthusiasm for it. You still do have a huge enthusiasm for the game.
Yeah, I just want to play. I was thinking, I knew my knees have started to go the wrong way there, and I'm thinking, right, well, part-time football, because when I was at Motherwell full-time, I got a job working in financial services, what I still do today. What a lucky break I got there. I told you, I feel blessed, Bruce, that the wee breaks that you get. So I thought, yeah, I'll go and give it a shot, but I could never imagine how successful that was either. I'm thinking, and it was the red strip, like Aberdeen. It was really freaky. And we were winning cups and leagues like Aberdeen and this and that. And it was just like, so I had a great 3 years over there.
And I mean, it must have been a different culture, a different environment. It's still the same game, but it's different from Scottish Premier League, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you're probably talking lower half of the first division, that type of standard of football, if you like. So it's still decent. But the fact that I was still scoring goals, I mean, I think 130 goals in 156 games. So I was still scoring goals, which is my passion in life, was to score goals. And I was still, and again, when I look at that team, I was so lucky there was players there were similar to what I had at Hibs and Aberdeen, who could create loads of chances for you because they were so good. And I thought, well, this is brilliant. And score goals, keep playing. And again, I was lucky again because I only trained with that team in 3 years 4 times, if I was lucky. Because I played a Saturday, played a Tuesday, I trained with Motherwell on a Thursday. They allowed me to come in Thursday morning and then play a Saturday. And I never trained with the team. Just played.
Played and had a ridiculous strike rate. Like they must have just thought you were the Messiah, scoring goals like that. Was there players there who were asking you for, what do we do here? What's this like? What's it like playing there? Was there guys with a thirst for your knowledge?
No, because nobody wants to ask that question. Nobody wants to be seen. Oh, I'm not asking him. Again, you're viewed as suspicion. Oh, they're flying him in. They must be paying him a fair bit of money. Why are we not getting the money? Who is he? Who does he think he is? So you've got the same challenge again, Bruce, what you asked me earlier on. You've got to go and improve yourself again. And away you go. And luckily I did that. And the club hadn't won a major trophy. They'd never won, we managed to win 2 of the leagues, the cup, 2 or 3 league cups. And it's like, oh, he's not a bad player. We'll accept him.
He's not a bad player. Well, a strike rate like that, he's not a bad player. And then, I mean, you've said you're a student of the game, and you're obviously so passionate about it, and that's why you're still in demand. Do you love talking about the game? Do you like being challenged and learning about the teams and the players and what's coming up and where they've been before? Is that something that excites you still?
Oh, Bruce, you're talking just having that's, I mean, honestly, you're on the phone looking at all the stuff. I'm reading the papers, watching anything that's football, all the channels, and I just absolutely love it because it's such, as you, and I know you're passionate about the game as well, it's such a brilliant, brilliant sport. I know other people in other sports will say this sport's brilliant. Football's the best ever. The best game ever. And I can't, my whole family, we're all just football mad.
If you could go anywhere to watch a game, where would you go? To watch a game live, where would you go?
Watch a game live, where would I go? Probably Madrid, Real Madrid. Because I watched them absolutely torture Celtic. I mean, I was sitting clapping, Bruce. See the third goal? I was sitting clapping, going, how did you do that?
Yeah.
These guys are so at a different level from what I was ever to do or playing, watching them, and when they get the press on them, and they're still keeping the ball and making passes. How do you do that? So I know it's their ability, but Madrid would be the one to watch them. What a wonderful team!
Yeah, there's just so much, isn't there? There's so many. I mean, you go to South America and be involved in the passion or the crowd. You can go to Italy and see a Milan derby, although I'm not sure I'm brave enough to do that. But there's just so much out there for all tastes. So, looking back on your time at Hibs, is there a moment that, if you could rewind the clock and go back to that, is it a goal? Is it a final whistle? Is it a changing room? Is there a moment where you think that was Hibs for me?
Yeah, there was probably 2 games. But if you asked me to pick one, it would be the time we beat Celtic 4-3 in the Scottish Cup quarter final at Easter Road. What an unbelievable game. Park was muddy. It was a sort of damp, wet day. Celtic were in town with Mo Johnson and Ryan McClare and all these boys, and they were going to do this to us, going to do that to us. And we beat them 4-3, as you know. I was lucky enough to score 2 in the game. Eddie May stole that one off me at the end. Because I would have got a hat trick, but listen, no, Eddie did brilliant, good diving header. So that game there, Bruce, would probably, they won their hoops. We won the green, white strip as well. No change of colours. And the muddy park, and the big crowd, and that was a great game.
I love it. I absolutely love it, Steve. I've absolutely loved chatting to you. I think I could go on all night, but it's just been brilliant to reminisce with you, and I really appreciate you taking your time. If you could score a goal anywhere, where would it be? In the Bernabeu against Real Madrid?
No, probably Milan that you mentioned earlier on, because I just scoring in the San Siro. Wow, I mean, not much better than that, is it?
Well, I don't know. Who do you enjoy reporting on and watching? Who is it? If you get the, I don't know, you get the email during the week to say, here's what we want you to do, or here's where you want you to be. Is there one that gets the blood pumping? Is it Celtic?
No, because we stay away from the Old Firm, which I think is a good thing for us. I just enjoy just getting to a game, Bruce. Honestly, I mean, I was a couple of weeks ago, I was at Livingston. Really enjoyed them. I mean, played really, really well. Beat St Johnstone that day comfortably. I just love getting out to a game, and you're in with the fans, and you're all standing there, and they're shouting at you, and you're just trying to have a bit of fun with them, and you watch some young players coming through, and still watching Jason Holt, who had as a wee boy, play them. So I just, listen, Saturday afternoon from 12 till 6. Football. Get me to a game.
Nice. I love that. You should get that on a t-shirt. Saturday afternoon, get me to a game. Or sometimes you see those things. If found, please return to the football.
That's a good quote, by the way. You should get that patented.
Steve, I've absolutely loved it. Thank you, my man. I
Cheers,
hope to
Bruce.
see you soon.
Take care.
What an absolute star. You just got to love the passion and enthusiasm the man still has for the game, and you can see and you can feel the reminiscing is just sparking it again. I think he's ready to go out and play a game now. I've absolutely loved it. Steve Cowan, what a legend, all those years ago, where he walked me around Easter Road Park and answered every single question. Some of them probably a bit more shallow than the ones I've asked tonight, but what an absolute star. I've loved that. If you've enjoyed it, then you can catch us on Apple, Acast and Spotify. You can watch on Facebook and YouTube. There's going to be more. There's been some, and there's going to be more. Hopefully you're enjoying it, and it's all thanks to Colin Leslie and his book, Best Day to Beast Day to Belgium. You can get it in all good bookshops and even some pretty rubbish ones too. It's available at the Hibs Club store, and you can get it online at bigcartel.com. Go on, get it for somebody's Christmas. Make their Christmas for them. Any Hibs fan would love to have it. I hope you've enjoyed it. My name is Bruce Aitchison from the Goals and Glory podcast, and I look forward to speaking to you all again very, very soon.